Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, did I shave my legs for that? No, but I stayed up till 1 a.m. for it, and that'll make me feel a whole lot better. Therapy session number 1 of the week, next.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, fixing tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. The perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. So go to 5hourenergy.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, kicking off another week and looking back to the Saturday night that was for the Red Raiders in Pullman, Washington. It was anything but satisfying, as literally from the jump, Texas Tech could not get out of their own way. Pooch kick to kick things off. Whoever heard of a pooch kick to kick things off? Not Texas Tech, apparently, as that was muffed. You then make a play defensively to get it back in your hands, and there was some back and forth, I guess, in the early stages of the game where you felt like, all right, for all you've done wrong, you've still got a chance to be in this game in the second half and compete for a road win. But eventually the hits just kept piling up. Want to give Washington State credit, obviously, for getting it done, but really no way around just feeling like also you couldn't get out of your own way. Toes shot off, fingers shot off, self-inflicted wounds, penalties, turnovers, poor execution. I mean, we really ran the gamut of seeing all the ways in which you can get in the way of a win. Good to see you, though, again, Chris.
Yeah, is it good to be with me again as we start a new week?
It's a therapy session, and I know I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm hearing that from my fans out there, so it is good to see you again.
Yeah, I feel like you could just, put it on the wheel of doom. You could put execution, discipline, turnovers, offense, defense, special teams, whatever you want to, and just spin the wheel and land on it. And it's like, well, that's also why you kind of no-showed in Pullman. And if it landed on, spin it again. Well, that's all. I mean, there's not a whole lot of good to come out of that one. There's just not. I mean, if you squint really hard, you can find a few things here and there, but I mean, for all the, it's like, spin the wheel, man. You can't win a home game committing 10 penalties and 4 turnovers very much less doing it on the road. You can't, 1 of 5 on 4th downs, giving up 300 yards rushing, a school record rushing number for a QB. I think, John Mateer, who was easily the best quarterback in the game, the way he played his position compared to how Barron did, had 197 yards rushing.
A record that I believe stood for 82 years. So they're probably going to want to schedule Texas Tech again pretty soon.
I mean, having one of your, not having one of your best players in Taj Brooks, having one of your best players just in a homecoming of sorts, just have the ball taken from him, around it's just, I mean, the 3. This is one of 3 games, I guess, in Joey's tenure where, because most of these losses that you've had under him, they're competitive. Like they're close. You just weren't quite good enough. But the Baylor game in year 1 got lopsided. Was the Pat Mahomes night. There was a lot of. That was a Saturday night game, and that was a Baylor team that was picked to win the Big 12. They had not really done a whole lot up to that point, and then they beat you, and then they got rolling, and then they ended up, I think, kind of faltering toward the end, but they just were better than you that night. I mean, it didn't matter, and you had some turnovers, sound familiar, and all those things. Then last year, Texas, I mean, they were a playoff team, and you were playing there. They were very motivated. The commissioner had, so those were the only two lopsided losses that you'd had, unless I'm missing something. But this one was just kind of a no-show, and I don't think Washington State is better than you are. It wasn't it was loud, but it wasn't some intimidating place to play. But I think they were just better, more disciplined, tougher. I mean, and I think your coaching staff here at Texas Tech would tell you they were better coached over the weekend. And so all that, but then again, so much of this it's like what you wrote, Cowan, on the screen there. So much of this is self-inflicted, just lack of discipline. So many of your offensive line not being on the same page with the not having the snap count right, and so you get delay game or false start or whatever. And I mean, but 10 penalties, that's 21 through 2 games. You're the most penalized team in the country. And you just, I mean, again, we talk about margin for error, and you're just not helping yourself. And the muffed kick kind of set you knew they were likely to do something to not kick it to Dre McCray, but John Carlos Miller, it's just scary when you go sprinting up to try to go field a punt or a kick. And we saw the result. Barron with 2 interceptions, Josh Kelly getting it taken away. Yeah, man.
Okay, go ahead and take a breath. I will talk now. A collapse, obviously, in every sense of the word. I do feel like, I mean, one thing that I do have there on the screen is defensive bounce back ? Because I felt like right out of the gates, and I really felt like this went on all night, that Tech's defense was put in horrific spots. Were done no favors by their counterparts in other phases of the game, offensively, defensively, or some of the calls made by those under the headsets on the sideline. But to begin the game, I thought, okay, well, Tim DeRuyter's got his defense's attention somehow this week. I thought you looked tougher at the line of scrimmage. Seemed like you were in better position. And with some guys back in the mix, maybe that helped. Now, at the end of the day, as we've already touched on, you're seeing records broken for rushing quarterbacks. And that's not something, by the way, that's new to this McGuire era or new to a Texas Tech fan. We've seen that for many years now.
Wallace.
Don't say the name. We will not say. Okay, you already said it. But yeah, that's a great example to drive home the point that that's been a problem before. But I was, kind of encouraged out of the gates seeing the defense not being just of the total Swiss cheese variety. Now, each quarter in a football game is not like singular unto itself. You don't just get a reset after the first and a reset after the second, a reset after the third, totally new quarter. Things add up. So maybe I'm a little bit more biased toward feeling sorry for the defense and all these things that were adding up for them as the game went on. Like, I don't know how many times you're going to allow a team to start so deep in your territory, but we were tipping the scale on breaking a record for that as well. And, points scored by Washington State when the possession began in Texas Tech territory, was it 1-1? Did they have a drive where they didn't? I don't know. They might have, but it felt like all of them went that way. And again, some of that credit at the feet of Washington State. Who was better, who's worse? Well, obviously last night or Saturday night, Washington State was better, but I think I told you this in a text message. There was nothing I saw that made me feel like they were more talented than Texas Tech or like they had a better roster or collection of personnel than Texas Tech. But for whatever reason, the Red Raiders just unable to put things together. And I got to tell you, the biggest storyline personnel-wise going into it was no Taj Brooks. I kind of felt like you filled those shoes as admirably as you probably could have hoped for. I didn't feel like the ball carrying situation was a total disaster. I thought Valdez and Dickey, and credit to the O-line, were making some things happen, at least to the extent that part of the game had to be accounted for. So it wasn't even like I had to sit here and say, well, with Brooks, you win that one. Without it, you had no chance. I don't feel that way. I thought there was some slack picked up in that area. But getting back to I think the first word you said, discipline, maybe the second word you said, discipline. I mean, these things, and it goes back to the coaches. Obviously, the players have a part in it, but a coaching staff is responsible for that area of their team, I think. It just ain't there. And it wasn't there week one. Took you 4 games to equal the number of penalties last year that you have committed this year. And, therein lies the tale, I think. If you just wanted to kind of boil it down, it doesn't seem like a disciplined or prepared football team right now. First, today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list of tasks at work or a bundle of do-it-yourself projects to tackle at home, take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you can cover everything with energy to spare. If you're like me, you've always got a lengthy list of things to get done around the house. So when you're getting your supplies for any project, don't forget the most essential one, a 5 Hour Energy shot. 5 Hour Energy shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in the zone. And that's why 5 Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them the alert, energized feeling they need to get through a busy and hectic day. And you always know where to find 5 Hour Energy shots, right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. And even better, you can stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. And right now, if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy today, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Hurry, because this offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions and does not apply to subscription orders. Boost your day and boost your life and get in the Get It Done zone by going to 5hourenergy.com today. If you just wanted to kind of boil it down, it doesn't seem like a disciplined or prepared football team right now.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to argue, and I get the frustration out there in the land of the Red Raiders, man. I get it. You deserve better. I mean, I think the staff would tell you the same. I think players would tell you the same, and I think Barron and Joey said after the game, essentially we've got to do better. And yeah, I mean, I feel like too, and I don't know why this is, but I feel like that the first 2 opponents, for different reasons, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. But I feel like they've been hungrier or had more of an edge to them, or have had more. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like more of a chip on their shoulder. And I don't know if I understand why. I don't. You've had back-to-back winning records in the Big 12. You've had bowl game wins. But there's some connections with these first two opponents. There's going to be this coming weekend as well. I don't know if that plays into it, but I just, after watching both of them, I just feel like that you played a hungrier team than you. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know why that is. I think there was a lot of emphasis put on this game in Pullman, and I thought, I wasn't sure you were gonna win or could win or whatever, but I really thought if you go down, it's going to be just crazy entertaining. It's going to be last team with the ball. It's going to be one of those where you just come up just a bit short, and like a key play here or there cost you. But you just were never, because Cowan, I think to your point about field position and stuff, I think the first half of the game, it just felt like it was played on your end of the field. Offense with a very long field, Washington State with a very short field. There was one point where you turn it over, with the Josh Kelly fumble, and you turn it over on downs one time. Washington State had 1-play drives. They hand off to one as a 46-yard run, touchdown, and then they take the ball away from Kelly. Then there's a 2-yard run. I mean, with 1-play drives for touchdowns, and the game just is, flipped. But I just felt like you were uphill the whole time, and everything and I didn't think Barron was on. I thought he missed a lot of open throws. He was talking to himself out there, very frustrated, missing short throws, missing long throws. A lot of guys on a different page. I felt like he was. Now, I don't know how it comes off on TV. You see that. Other people see it. I can just see from field view where I'm standing and then looking at video board and replays and all that, but he's letting the ball go way sooner than maybe it needs to. And I don't know if that's, trying to not get hurt. I don't know. And I just feel like, we need to be honest here, but your offensive line is just not very good. And I think people get sick of the screens and things like that. I think you're trying to protect a really bad offensive line. And I don't know if they've put so much emphasis on get down, get rid of the ball quick, all those things to try to not get a quarterback hurt. But it just looked like he was way sped up against Washington State and throwing it before he's ready or before the receiver's ready or whatever. And there was just a lot of that. I don't know, stats-wise, was he like 58, 60% completion? But like your deep balls, you just weren't really ever even close. Whether that's a misread or throwing it to the wrong shoulder or they're just covered, and I thought it doesn't help things on the offensive line that Porcher just came off woozy, or excuse me, Porcher came off woozy. They cart Vinny Scurry to the locker room. I would not expect good news there. I think you just hope and pray that it's not. But those big boys get on that cart and it's not. That's usually not a good sign.
He was putting no weight on the leg when he was coming off of the field.
So that's your starters on your left side of your line. And I mean, we're already saying that it wasn't because so I just that's a major problem, that particular group and then what you do with it or what it allows you to do. The Taj thing, I don't know if that's like a mental thing. I'm with you. I thought Cameron and Cameron both were, there's a few blitz pickups that maybe you have an issue with this and that, but I don't know if that's a mental thing. Like, dude, we're missing our best dude or one of our best guys. I can't pretend to know the mental dynamic there. Defensively, I will say they covered well. I thought Braylon Lux being back, I thought you really held the passing game in check, but you dropped 8 a lot. And that's when I think Washington State was like, screw it. We're just going to run this kid. And this Mateer kid from Little Elm, Texas, just proceeded to run all over you. I mean, he looks up and he sees the back of jerseys and away he goes. And and they just, to the tune of 300 yards. So
I was really curious to hear Coach McGuire's comments after the game regarding Baron Morton, and it seemed like he left the door open to suggest that Morton is not at 100%. Some of what Morton was doing on the field might give you an indication he was not at 100%. If he is physically, it seemed like between the years he's not at 100%. There was some, backing out of pockets and stuff like that didn't really seem necessary. Now, certainly easy to say from the couch, eating ho-hos when I'm not the guy in the pocket with the world collapsing around me. But either way, it wasn't accurate. There's no doubt about that. 59% was the number. I think beyond 10 yards, it was even more abysmal. So that was not good. And I'm so conflicted. I'm resigned to being a relic of the past whenever it comes to like, balancing out an offense or something like that. I don't get what these OCs want to do these days, and I'm just never going to get it. I've said before, I'm biased by growing up in a place that was 3 yards in a cloud of dust high school. I know that's not the way that things are done very often anymore, but I do kind of feel like there's still some happy medium where when your quarterback is really struggling and your defense has been struggling coming into the game and then eventually resumed that as far as stopping a mobile quarterback, that there are some ways offensively maybe to compensate for some of those things. But I would also tell you that I do get some of the weapons you have as far as pass catchers and wanting to continue to get them involved. Now, does it have to be involved to the tune of 58 pass attempts? I don't know. And maybe only Zach Kitley and company actually know that. But I thought some of the things you were doing as far as trying to move the ball on the ground, and it was a host of characters, a cast of characters. Yeah, Conyers, Cameron Brown even getting involved at one point. It's kind of what we talked about last week on the show. Like, hey, it may take, this group of guys beyond your running backs to make some of that happen. And by the way, that was one of the glaring points where Cameron Dickey was not perfect. Big whiff as far as the Conyers carry that got him stuffed in the backfield on a big play. So bad that some were asking, was that supposed to be a pass to Dickey? Is that why he was just looking back and not trying to block anyone? I shouldn't say not trying, but he didn't successfully block anyone. So there's nothing but bad feelings leaving that ball game. And I think you already said it. There's not a whole lot you can take away from it that you're really feeling like, boy, we came out and we put on a good show in this area. So let's build off of that. It's backs against the wall time. It's desperation time, and we ain't even out of September. We're not even to the second half of September. We're going into week 3 with North Texas coming to town, and you feel like your back is against the wall. I think that's more figurative because you're 1-1. Obviously, it's not like your season is on the brink.
You've been here before multiple times. Last year it was actually a lot worse as you were 0-2 after the first. But yeah, the non-conference road game, bit of a bugaboo.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Well, and a lot of road games, a bit of a bugaboo.
Yeah.
As far as now being 3-9 in the McGuire era. Could you touch on the Morton aspect though? Is there anything to suggest that some of what we are seeing as far as the errancy or just the poor play, at least in week 2, is that related to anything you have a feel for as far as his health, or is this just, man, this guy had a really bad day? First, today's episode brought to you by Ibotta, a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're buying. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you can get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or even gift cards. Join the over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Best Buy, and plenty more. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE when you register. So just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Is that related to anything you have a feel for as far as his health, or is this just, man, this guy had a really bad day?
He got hit a lot. He took several shots, slow to get up a couple times, but I think he's fine. He was in the post-game press conference. He did a press conference after it was over. I think he'd be the first one to tell you he needed to play better. And he said, I need to be better. It's his 14th or 15th start. I just don't think he played as well as he wanted to. I think there's just you can't appreciate like real accuracy and pinpoint this and that. And then when it's not happening, you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, but that I just felt like that there was a lot of throws that he's pulling the trigger too quickly. And again, I can't pretend to know what all. Is he seeing something? Is he feeling something that's not there? Is he just feeling sped up in his, I don't know, but I can just go off of, man, and I'm on the sideline with various people and they're like, man, he's open. He just missed him. And like you said that a lot, bounced a few in there. Just, even on some of the shorter throws, it just, and he had some good throws too. I mean, he had some moments too, but this is why I think and it's unfair with this position, but this is why, we said at the tail end of last week, your quarterback needs to play really well. And I just didn't think he did. And I think John Mateer played really well.
Yes.
It looked a lot different than it did the week before when he had 11 completions for 350 yards and all that. I mean, you largely took that away and we're like, you're not doing that to us today. Well, they beat you in a different way, and they just they ran him and mixed in a few throws here and there, and then had the traditional running game kind of, and then you helped them plenty of times, giving them short fields and the turnovers and all the things. But yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see how Barron bounces back. Again, his stat line isn't like just terrible. I mean, it's he threw for a bunch of yards and it's just not as efficient as you would want. It took a lot of completions. What did I just tell you? 11 completions for like 352 for Mateer in week 1. Yeah. Barron has 38 completions, 34. And it's about the same amount of yards. So it gives you an idea on how spicy you're being from an efficiency standpoint.
Yeah.
But hopefully he bounces back, and hopefully, but Yeah, you're beat up. I don't know what your offensive line is going to look like this week. I really don't, and I guess we'll find out early this week. Whenever Joey kind of does his press conference, things like that, kind of what the status is of a lot of these guys. But I mean, Dalton Merriman in the game, Davion Carter, who had missed some practice the week before, in the game. So you were with your 6th and 7th offensive linemen, and I don't even really know who's, if that's your starters, I don't really know who's now becomes 6th and 7th. Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is the reality of it. But nobody feels sorry for you. Nobody feels sorry for you. And I don't know Taj's status. Harvey Dyson did not participate in this game after all the talk we had about him in August. Charles Esters was still missing. So,
yeah. So just going to assume Scurry out. Porsche would be surprised if he's in, and Rodgers in, but still heavily penalized. It's a mess. It is a mess up front. It was a mess coming into it. It was a mess leaving last year, and you dip into the portal to try to address that mess. And we kind of asked several times throughout the offseason, is it making you feel good? You want 3 brand new guys to be 3 of your 5 starters, or does that suggest you got some good guys out of the portal? We got an early answer, but it's a long season. Nothing stays the same.
And Cole Spencer, remember that deal 2 years ago? That may be potentially, that could be what you're looking at with Vinny Scurry. I mean, there could be a conversation that if it is bad news injury wise, maybe, hey, you want to run it back?
You want to run it back?
I mean,
I'd love to,
because he was your best one.
Yep.
He was your best one, and he still wears this hat, make football violent again. But unfortunately, it is.
It got violent.
It is, and I didn't see the play in slow motion, but I mean, he was not in a good way on the field, and just you could appear a lot of pain, and then the cart and all that. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah.
No, you're good. I was just going to say nothing stays the same. So you got an opportunity to bounce back. So dig down and do something about it if you want, or resign yourself like a fan would and say, I'm out. That's a fan thing. Should not be a player thing. By the way, not eating ho-hos on the couch. You kidding me? That's not getting us through a Texas Tech game. I was drinking hard liquor every once in a while, calling the wife into the room to throw a glass of cold water in my face, kick me in the crotch just to feel better. We've all got our methods. Before we get out of here, Chris, I just want to voice an opinion. I'm not here to persuade anybody. Certainly know that I will not persuade anybody. I've got a fairly thick head of hair, but it's going to be thinner and thinner and thinner as long as we keep making these 4th down calls, because I'm just pulling it out every time. I do not understand when you are hanging on by a thread and there's no indication that the game will be any different other than you hanging on by a thread. That's like the best case scenario. I do not understand these wild risks that you were taking. I do not understand the thought that the word punt is a curse word, as I said in the video I kicked out over the weekend. It's not. And look, the analytics, the percentages, you know where to stick it. I got no use for it anymore. Maybe it works for some, like the Harlem Globetrotters of football. Well, since we do everything well, then these mathematical odds are worth abiding by. More power to you if your name is on the contract to go down doing the way that you want to do it. But that ain't my style, and I don't know how many more of these I can take when you are a marginal to inferior football team as far as talent, execution, and every other area. I don't know how many more of these risks I can stomach. It was right out of the gate. It was into the game further. It was later in the game, 4th and 11, I think, at one point in time, and I just don't get it. That's why I'm getting to the point where I am resigned to be a relic of the past that is cast off to the dustbin of football history. I do not understand these things. And I just kind of wonder at one point in time, does it become a crutch for a coaching staff? Like to where you say, well, let's rely on the book because I don't know what I would do. I can't fathom that for 40, 50, and 60-year-old men who have spent their entire lives in football that they don't have some feel for the game. But from a local yokel seat, it doesn't seem like they have a feel for the game. Now, again, not saying this to persuade anybody. That's just my opinion. I know it is shared by many, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. I feel like I'd have Locked On Texas Tech viewers and listeners at my door with torches and pitchfork if I did not mention these things. It is so frustrating to me. And I think, look, this is a little like superstitious territory that I'm going to get into, some intangible spiritual territory. Football gods do not like these kinds of things. And when you got a chuck into the end zone that bounces off of a DB and a wide receiver catches it in the last millimeter of the corner for a touchdown, I'm thinking, that's the football god right there. That's the football god dropping something into their breadbasket, because we went wild whenever it came to taking what the game brings to you. I agree with what you've said before, Chris. You can't dip your toe in it. Like, you've got to go for that type of, I guess, mode, or you've got to go away from that type of mode. But God, it is frustrating to watch it play out over and over again when that runs contrary to, I don't know, 100 years of football sense, at least where I come from. I know it's a popular talking point among fans, so I just wanted to mention it in our conversation before we get out of here today.
Oh, and when it's not working, it is extremely painful. And when it's working against UT the other day, you're like, this guy's a crazy scientist, mad genius. The ones that are earlier in the game, I can totally get the frustration when you're down late in the game or whatever, and you can start to see the clock. I get the deal there. Like, there's no sense in sending out the punter then, because like the old Mike Leach thought used to be like, it doesn't matter if we lose by 60 or by 3. A loss is a loss. So I'm taking my swings. But Joey actually brought this up to me at halftime. He brought it up to me after the game. It was certainly something he was very much thinking about and frustrated about, in that I'm going to have to start rethinking this process and these decisions if we're not going to be better on fourth down than that, because you're 1 of 5, 20%. That's not what the book is saying that you should be. So why, right. There's a reason that the book says, hey man, odds are, or 66% or 58% says you're going to convert this. And when you're 1 of 5, is it execution? Is it play call? I mean, like, one time you had a batted pass down. One time you had missed block. Yeah. I mean, and so is it play call? Is it execution? Is it we should send the crocodile punter out there and let Burgess boom one?
The crocodile punter. Why have we not brought that up on the show before? That's perfect. I don't want to laugh right now, but that's making me laugh.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, that's a great example. The missed block thing. Like, when you're looking in the book, and it's like, hey, the odds are if you do this, you got a better chance of your success rate is here. Well, did you take into account a freshman running back?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're calling on to execute these things. So, look, we all get it, and I'm sure this has been discussed over and over and over. But yeah, I hope he's reconsidering some of those things. And the 6 for 8 on fourth down to beat UT, awesome lottery ticket that you came upon that day. Is that a strategy week to week to week? I don't know who I could find that would say, yeah, we'll if it takes 8 every week, that's our mode of being. It was a lottery ticket is what I feel like it was. But all right, Chris, I've yelled at you for long enough.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I've had plenty of people yell at me on my phone, in my.
Why are you not doing something, Chris?
I mean, yeah, it's these are tough weeks, man.
We're all pissed off.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
But this is our first therapy session of the week, so maybe just a layer of relief brought to you. We hope we'll have a few more to go before we are back in the LBK and back at Jones Stadium for North Texas to come to town, which is never provided any frustration in the history of this program. So no big deal. Former player as a head coach coming to town. Should be a lot of fun. I know it's always fun chopping it up with you, Chris. I do mean that. I appreciate your time. I enjoyed it. Look in my eyes so you know I'm telling the truth, being sincere about that. Appreciate the time, man. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you all for listening, watching, all that stuff. These are not much fun, but hey, you got 10 games left, 6 home games left. We've just begun. Try to find the joy that you have for athletics somehow. If you can muster some up, or just recoup all week, and then your emotional battery will be full again, and
that's right.
Be ready to be excited or let down again. I don't know. I feel like sports is this like this crazy girlfriend that you just can't quite get rid yourself of, but you just keep hanging around. But I just keep coming back for more, just like you do, Cowan. So appreciate the time. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Appreciate it.
I know when Friday rolls around, I will be ready to be hurt again, and I will be here with you who are feeling the same way as well. Thanks for being out there. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks so much to those everydayers. I'm talking the sickest of the sickos for riding with us, even through a bit of a bumpy start to the 2024 experience. We still got a long way to go. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for being out there, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.